Gigi, you're on the women's commentary alongside Evan Lepler, and this is your first time as a commentator and the first time as part of a media broadcast team. How have you found it? How's the experience been for you?
It's been really exciting, obviously, because it's my first time. I've been really quite nervous throughout the whole week, and I knew coming into the week that it would be all a learning experience, so me messing up a few times or just getting a little bit confused is fine. And thankfully we've had a massive team supporting us the whole way, and I've come into it with absolute ease.
Yeah, the Sport Mag team and people like Luke Johnson and Mike Palmer have put in an awful lot of work. Ian Lunger behind our camera there has been doing a heck of a lot of hard work to bring you all the action. Thank you very much to everybody that's been involved. And you had this game, the final game, is going to be USA versus Russia in the women's division. And you've covered this game already with Evan. That must have been a pretty special game.
It was certainly, yeah. It's the game that I've had to prepare the most for so far, not just because it's a USA team, but it was also covering a game with Evan Lepler. He comes into a game with so much preparation, and you almost don't want to feel too overshadowed. You want to kind of know what's going on as well, and he's such a pro, and I get to learn from the best, and that's just incredible.
Okay, Liam, you've been here with us all week as well, covering this and also covering games on fields 2 and 3 with fanseat.com, who've been our streaming partner. You can sign up for a subscription and watch all the games that were covered on fields 2 and 3 retrospectively, so you can do that. Liam, what's been the highlight for you? What's been the best action you've seen this week here on the Sands?
I think there's been some big upsets in the mixed division, notably USA falling to both Sweden and Philippines in huge comebacks, both streamed on fancy.com, so you can look back over those ones. That's been really exciting. This is the most biggest matchup I'm looking forward to. I think if anyone can stop the clean sweep from the US, it's this Russian team. We look back at Dubai 2015. This was the final there as well. It was, I think, tied up at 8s, and a layout from Roy Titcombe took Sasha Pustovaia out of the game. USA went on to win that one. Heartbreak for the Russians. And they come back here with what looks like a stronger roster. They played the US already and lost, but I think they were spreading out their lines a bit, not trying to give anything away earlier on. It was a game that didn't really matter too much, knowing that they're probably the two strongest teams in this division. So now a chance for Pustovaia to make amends, have another go at this. She was the top assist in Dubai, I think assisting more than 30 goals. Now, not highest on the assist leaderboard, and that's a good sign. It shows that there's lots of other players on this Russian team who can step up and shoot those goals.
Yeah, we saw Dina Dumanskaya catching every pull, passing after Sasha Pustovaia, but also showing real strength upwind in some of the upwind downwind games we've seen here on the arena pitch. Liam, just reflect a little bit, if you can, for us about the whole tournament. The scene here in Royan has been a festival of colour and flags and action. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, Royan is like a natural amphitheatre, and it's just such a great experience here. A lot of major tournaments like Worlds in London, you kind of find yourself, you're in a bit of a sports ground feel, you know, there's not festivities happening on the streets, you're not usually in the town and feeling the vibe of the city itself. While Royan, you're right in the mix of things. You're having dinner on the promenade, you're going for swims in the sea, and for a lot of people it's a bit of a holiday, and why not? A lot of Ultimate players, you know, this is what we spend our savings on, this is the thing we look forward to, so it's great that you have both the really competitive Ultimate side of things, but also a chance to experience the culture. And the city of Royan has been so welcoming to everyone, and they've done so much. Got a chat with the mayor at one of the Frisbee parties earlier on in the week, so they've just been so welcoming. It's probably one of my favorite tournament atmospheres I've ever been at.
Thank you very much, Liam. It's certainly not been a holiday for you guys this week, working your socks off. Thank you very much. We've got a chance now. If you guys want to go and pass on the microphone there, we've got one of our guests. Gigi will be back on the coverage alongside Evan Lepler for that USA versus Russia game. And I'm very privileged to be joined by Megan Hurst from Great Britain, the bronze medalist in the women's division. And Megan, you're an athlete who's played a lot of beach in your time. Just talk us through your ultimate history with Great Britain and Scotland as well.
So I started playing in 2006 and was lucky enough in 2007 to go with Team Scotland to the Beach Worlds in Brazil, which was a fantastic experience, especially for someone so new to the sport. It was really hard work. I think we might have won one game, but just getting to be there for that, the atmosphere and the experience was fantastic. And then in 2011, was really, really excited to make it onto the women's team, run by Bex Forth. She's been running it for a long time and she knows what she's doing.
Yes.
And then 2013 played Euros with the women's team. 2015 in Dubai, captained the mixed team with Fergus and Paul, and then back on women's for this great tournament in Royan.
And is this your first medal?
No, we won bronze in 2011 as well.
Excellent.
So nice to kind of come back for some medals, I guess.
And the journey through the tournament has been a bit of a roller coaster ride, but highlights, we've got some of your action from the game that you played against France, but then you came up against this Russian opponent that we're going to see in the final. What was that like?
They're so hard to get away from. Just their defense is some of the best here. And I think for the Americans in this game, it's going to be their biggest challenge because they're so good. They have such good beach marks on force, because I think that's a real skill that actually you maybe don't think about as much, you maybe don't talk about as much, but actually their positioning is so good that as a handler, you feel like you really have to work hard to find your options upfield, and that sort of mounts that pressure, and you maybe they don't get huge layout blocks. I mean, sometimes they do get huge layout blocks, but actually it's that building pressure that eventually generates the turnovers for them.
Okay, so the USA are going to have to watch that. We've got action from your game against France here. The team pulling out some incredible grabs, and some of the new players coming into the squad. Just talk about some of them if you can.
So I guess probably one of our standouts would be Amelia Kenneth. So I was fortunate enough to play Leeds Women with her last season, and she's just so fast. So she's number 21. I think you're about to see her make a fantastic grab.
Yeah, that was a fantastic grab right there.
That's business as usual for Amelia, but I think she's probably the player on our team that gets thrown the disc by the other team the most. So often on a turn she ends up with it in her hands, and she's just so good at dishing it off and going and scoring. So she's been really exciting for us.
Brilliant. And you've talked about the number of beach tournaments you've played, from the first World Championships in Brazil to here in Royan, and the scale of this event has really grown in that time.
It's become massive. So thinking about actually how many mixed teams were in Brazil, for example, I can't remember the number, which is obviously poor of me, but there were maybe 7, 8, 9 of us.
Yeah.
And now there's 32 in the mixed division. It's just huge, and it's been such an amazing event, so well organized, and such a fantastic location to have just kind of the city walking past, and actually lots of locals stopping and watching Ultimate as well, which is really what Worlds is all about.
Now, the team happy with the bronze medal?
I think we would have liked to have played better in the semi-final. I think all of us felt that we maybe didn't have our best team performance. I think the France highlights show us at our best maybe, but I think we're all really happy that we kind of came back together as a team, and I think that's a really challenging thing to do after a semi-final loss, to come back together as a team and really storm it in that bronze medal game.
Now, we did have 2 Russian ladies that were lurking around the background, but I think they've gone off to practice.
Got a big game coming up.
They have got a bit of a big game. So what do you think the USA are going to be looking to do against Russia, and what do you think the Russians are going to be looking to do to try and stop the impressive athleticism of the USA?
So I think that neither of them will really be thinking to change their game plans that much, and I think that's something that kind of shows good teams, in that they're not dictated by their opposition. Obviously, the USA are going to have to think about shutting down those handler resets round the back. So the Russians have some very tall, long throwers, and it's very hard to stop them from getting those around backhands in particular out. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Americans coming out with some backhand forces and really trying to stop that dump and swing that the Russians do so nicely.
Yeah, we're just trying to gather a couple of the players from Russia. No, they're not coming over to see us. Yes, the action here on the beach has been quite electrifying. Have you managed to watch any of the other divisions and relax a little bit on your time off, or has it been purely focused on the Great Britain women's effort?
So there has been a lot of focus on our effort. I've been lucky enough to be able to watch some of the other Brighton women, my club team, play on the mixed team. And that's been really nice to go and watch them playing, and some of the under-24s who I coached a couple of years ago. Really great to see them coming through on those other teams as well. And obviously GB Open had that very exciting semi-final against the Philippines, which we caught some of as well, so that was really great to watch.
Yes, Great Britain will be in that men's final later on, playing up against the USA. Do you think they have a chance?
I think they've got a really good chance. I think they've got some fantastic top-level players, but they've got real depth in their roster. And I think it's a challenge for any team coming out against the US in these finals to just kind of settle the nerves and not be overwhelmed by the occasion. And I think lots of this roster have had that experience with the Dubai final, where GB Open were there as well. So I think that they're really looking to push forward from that and build a strong base in those first few points. And I think they're so critical in finals.
Excellent. Well, Megan, thank you very much for talking to us. It's been a pleasure. Enjoy your afternoon in the stands, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the medal ceremony later on.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. So this is Game Day Live. Looking forward to all the finals, and we've got somebody from the Russian team going to come over and join me. We're not far away from the women's final, USA versus Russia. You guys just come and stand in here. If you could just introduce yourselves.
Okay, so I'm Alex, and this is Vladimir. This is Vladimir. We're from the Open Russian team.
And so how's your week been going on the open team?
So we took the 5th place, and we lost just 1 point in the quarters to France. So yeah, we struggled, and we took the 5th place in the end.
Okay, and what was it like playing against the host nation, France?
Well, there were like lots of people supporting them, but we were pumped up. So yeah, it was a great atmosphere and a lot of fun.
And have you had a chance to talk to the women's team about how they've been preparing for this USA game?
In particular for the USA game, not much details, but like the whole way in Moscow we trained like side to side, so we were like together. So in particular for the USA game, no specific details.
Okay, and the Russians have got a lot of players over here for this beach championships. Is beach a growing sport? Is that a growing part of the ultimate scene in Russia?
Он спрашивает, растет ли пляжный ultimate в России. Vladimir wants to say something.
В общем, чувак спросил, растет ли пляжный ultimate в России. Безусловно, растет, особенно в женском, и поэтому мы заслужены в финале.
Okay, so it is indeed growing, and in the women's division, as you can see, we're in the final. So yeah,
it's great. Okay, well, thank you very much for talking to us, guys. We're going to get a couple of the players on very quickly before they go and take their warm up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
Alisa.
Yeah.
And Ingra. Nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you.
You're in this final against the USA. What are you expecting to see from the Americans?
Well, we expect fast offenses and hard defense, so we're really preparing to work hard on the field.
So we're very excited about this game because we lost in Dubai 2 years ago, and we really want to take our place back. So.
And how many of the players from Dubai are in the Russian team for this year in Royan in France?
I think about 11.
Okay.
Yeah, so most of them were playing in Dubai.
And did that defeat take a long time to get over and recover from?
I guess no.
No, yes.
We were just working hard we were working hard and preparing for this year, and I think we didn't think about the final at all. We were preparing to work hard in each game.
And how has the rest of the tournament been for you? Has it been fun?
Yeah, it was hard. We cannot say that it was easy at all because the teams were fighting each point, and it was very interesting So it was very hard games with GB, with Denmark also, yeah, with other teams, because everyone wants to win and everyone was training hard. So.
Okay, and who's the big players on the Russian team? Who do the fans at home need to be looking out for during this final? Obviously, apart from yourselves.
I think that all of us, you can make very strong things, because I think that's the thing that we really have, that each player in a team can do long throws, can do breaks, can work hard, and that's what we are planning to do.
Okay, and the wind isn't too strong today. Is that gonna play a factor in the match?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll see, yeah.
Okay, well, best of luck for the game. We're looking forward to seeing you in the women's final, the gold medal match against the USA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have another person coming to see me now here on Game Day Live, just as we get the build-up going before this first match of the day. We've got 3 matches for you. Hello.
Hi.
Can you just come closer to me?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, and introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Elena. I play for the Spanish team. I'm the spirit captain. Spanish women's team.
Oh, and how has the week out here in Royan been for you?
It's been really intense. It's been a really good experience. We started the week. It was so hot. I mean, actually, it's been hot throughout the week. But yeah, especially at the beginning, it was really hard, I think, to adapt to the conditions. I mean, even for us that we play in Spain and we have sun, it was tough. It was really tough. But it was definitely worth it. I think we all had a great time and we learned a lot.
And the Spanish teams weren't in Dubai, so your performance here may have come as a bit of a surprise to some of the nations attending. What was your final placings across the different divisions?
So the Spanish women team, we ended up 7th. I think we started the week quite strong. We knew that we were coming into a hard pool, but it came a little bit into a surprise to us as well, because we played some of the teams in grass years ago, but it was, I think, sun is our media kind of, so we did better, and that, like, I think that's kind of the same. It happened the same in the other divisions as well. We play in Spain. We have beach, so we used to train in beach, so we have really good players. So we try to use that in our favor.
And you mentioned you were the spirit captain. How has the spirit been here at the tournament overall, from your point of view?
I think overall the spirit's been great. We have barely had any kind of problem. Everybody was very open to talk about any kind of lack in spirit, or even though, I mean, we're coming from very different places and we have lots of cultural differences. We all came together. We wanted to play and play well, and that reflected in the game. And the games were intense, but all very, very spirited. So that was enjoyable.
And we were down at the party last night. A great atmosphere in there. All the players letting their hair down and enjoying a bit of a celebration. And whereabouts are you going to be sitting in our stands this afternoon to watch this women's final?
So I think I was actually going there. I think the Spanish women team and most of the Spanish people will be around the middle of the central stairs. So like here, trying to cheer and enjoy the final.
And which of these two teams, USA versus Russia, are you going to be cheering for? You don't have to tell us if you don't want to.
I think we have a division between our players. We played both teams, so. I don't want to say it, because maybe I'm supporting one and other people will be supporting others, but yeah. We'll be cheering for both and for a great spirit and for a good game.
Okay, and if you had to pick out one highlight from your week here on the beach, what would it be?
Ooh. I think maybe our victory against Canada, because that was a really tough game and we pushed really hard, and I think we showed that we know how to play. So, I mean, from my team, from my perspective, that's what would be my highlight. But probably lots of people, like other people, will have other highlights, because there's been a lot of good bids and good games. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much for talking to us. Just hang around for a second, because our broadcast is about ready to go. We're going to be watching the gold medal match in the women's division. USA in the blue and Russia in the white. Covering this one for you is going to be Evan Lepler and Gigi Morrison. After that, we've got the men's final, Evan and myself, and the mixed final finishes off the day with Evan Lepler and Liam Grant. So all the action coming up right now, but we're going to take some messages and then we'll be back with the women's final.
Début du match dans 5 minutes. Beginning of the match in 5 minutes. N'hésitez pas à vous rendre en tribune, l'accès est gratuit. Je vous rappelle que toute personne ne faisant pas partie des deux équipes jouant ou les volontaires travaillant sur la sideline n'est pas autorisé autour du terrain à se respecter les lignes blanches.
A capacity crowd filing in for Championship Saturday of the 2017 World Championships of Beach Ultimate. It is a sparklingly beautiful day here in Royan, and the energy crescendoing for the women's final between Team Russia and Team USA. It's a rematch of the gold medal game from 2 years ago in Dubai. Alongside Gigi Morrison, I am Evan Lepler. It is an absolute honor to be here for this women's final. And Gigi, these two teams met in a relatively meaningless power pool game just a couple days ago. USA won 13-10. Russia won the second half of that game. What, if any, impact do you think that game will have on this one?
Yeah, as you said, it was fairly meaningless in terms of the result. It didn't put the USA in any more of an advantageous position, but it allowed both teams to give a read of how the other team is playing. Both of them are fairly different from Dubai. Russia's probably got the most similar team, but the USA has maybe 5 returning players from Dubai. And that you kind of have to adjust to. The USA know coming into this, they've won already. It was a 13-10 scoreline. But it's always difficult to beat a team for the second time.
Well, it's not very windy today. That's good news for the throwers on both teams, and there are plenty of skilled distributors. 2 years ago, these two teams met in the final, and it may have been the greatest game in the history of Beach Ultimate. It went to the wire. USA won it 9-8. It went back and forth all game long, and we expect this one to be just as exciting. USA and Russia, only one can take the gold, and we'll find out over the next 45 minutes.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
The sky robin's egg blue, a few scattered clouds, and the United States and Russia, the two powerhouses in women's ultimate, on the beach, set to go head-to-head in front of an electric crowd. Here's the lineup for Team Russia. Sasha Pustovaya, number 69, was the star 2 years ago. But this season, Gigi, it has been Olga Podolska. She has led this team in goals and assists, but this is not a team of 1 or 2 strong women. They go 15 deep.
Yeah, that's very true. So Olga Podolskaya, she's leading in terms of stats, but it's a very different atmosphere to last time around. You see, like, she is leading in stats, but the Russian team is so close behind. It's a much more balanced team than 2 years ago in Dubai, where Sasha Pustovaya was dominating, taking goals, assists, anything that she wanted.
USA all ready to go. A minute from the opening pull. And the American roster, Becky Malinowski, has led the way for the O-line. Just a phenomenal tournament. 23 goals and 14 assists. Khalees Cardenas has been very effective downfield. And Paige Soper in the bracket play has been a force. There's a look at Malinowski. So many of her goals have been hucks from Soper, who has 25 assists in the USA's 12 games in the tournament. 9 of those have come in just the last 2 games alone. USA's 12-0. Russia is 11-1. The only loss, a relatively meaningless power pool play game. Everybody expected these two to be here in the finals. USA dispatching Canada 12-8, and Russia taking down Great Britain 12-6. A look at the numbers for Malinowski out there with Soper, Rudin, Cardenas, and Howard. And the gold medal on the line in the women's final in Royan. Howard to Soper. The Russian coach Dima Podolsky saying before the game, this will come down to defense. Both teams have great throwers, and oh goodness, a mistake from Malinowski, but it worked for the United States, and that seems just for the Russians to get a chance at a throw on this point. I'm not sure how that worked out. Sulemova deflected it right to a blue jerseyed American.
Let's hope that that kind of defense is both there and not there at the same time. We want that fire, but we don't want it to fall into the hands of the USA.
So the Americans turn it over on the opening point, and it'll be Inga Sulemova. Low throw, nice catch. Kept alive by Pichugina. Shooting it deep, testing Malinowski. And the American height up to the challenge. We welcome those of you joining us all around the world. It is early in the morning on the East Coast of the United States, perhaps late on Friday night, early Saturday morning out west, where Cree Howard hails. Looking long, Maggie Rudin reads it and lays out for the score. The San Francisco Fury connection. Howard to Rudin, and the USA holds on the opening point.
This stadium is absolutely buzzing. You can probably hear in the background some of the Russian teams supporting their women's side. And already an incredible point.
Probably not the right move for Russia to test Malinowski deep. And a great grab by Rudin. It looked like she had it all the way, and then it almost got away from her at the last minute. But Rudin with her 15th goal of the tournament. She's third on the team, fourth on the team behind Cardenas, Malinowski, and Sarah Levin, who has really produced for the D-line. And the pull lands out of bounds. That's not what USA coach Mike Whitaker was looking for. As far as USA strategy goes, they've really stressed fundamentals. And Gigi, we were chatting with Coach Mike Whitaker before the game that we really want to make their handlers run, but we're focused on the little things because that's probably what will decide this game. Sasha Pustovaya initiates, and it's been an incredible tournament for Dina Dumanskaya, who's the tallest player in the women's division throughout Europe. Pustovaya's backhand toward the sideline, inbounds for Tizik. Elisa Tizik has been a highlight reel machine in her own right. Number 91, great speed, a track and field background, and a pick downfield, but it appears it's going to stay with Tizik. There's some adjustment, as you see, behind the disc. Sasha Pustovaya, the younger sister of Anna. Couple sets of sisters on this team. Anastasia Kochanova and Olga Podolskaya. Sisters as well. Olga, her former name Kochanova, before she married the coach. I think she married him not necessarily because he was the coach. You see that a lot in the ultimate world for sure. Pretty put. Are you kidding me? Sasha Pustovaya. Picture perfect.
That Russian O-line is intimidating. You've got Pustovaya and Dumanskaya at the back, some of the most dominating handlers in the game. And then you've got Tizik, an incredible downfield receiver, and Podolskaya, who's leading in the Russian statistics. This O-line is almost unstoppable, and that was an incredible point.
23rd goal of the week for Podolskaya. Tizik kept it alive initially, and then a close call there. But check out this shot. Breaking the mark with fakes in the high release. Silky smooth to tie it at 1. Turnover free hold for the Russians. Same 5 in the offense for the United States. Malinowski chased by Parshakova, looking for Rudin. She did it again! Maggie Rudin, unstoppable. 2-1 USA.
That was almost a mirror image of the very first point from the USA. Completely turnover free this time round. And Maggie Rudin, she just seems like an absolute beast.
Making the difficult look routine. How similar were these first 2 goals for Maggie Rudin? We'll show you. Her 15th and 16th scores of the weekend. That was the first one. And then off the underneath cut from Malinowski. A mirror image. Crowd-pleasing ultimate through the opening 3 points.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you want from this women's final.
Well, not nearly as windy, Gigi, as it was yesterday afternoon during the Masters finals. It's more of a crosswind right now coming from the far side of the field to the near. You can see the whistling flags blowing toward us. Pustovaya, of course, had the scary injury in the finals against Team USA 2 years ago in Dubai. Great to see her back on the field. She looks as good as ever. The Americans are hoping to take advantage of the size of Pustovaya and Dumanskaya on a turnover. But when the Russians have the disc, as you can see right there, just directing traffic, it's hard for the USA to match up with this height. Pretty good goal line defense leads to a turnover. Podolskaya had nowhere to go. Sarah Miller defending the dump. First turnover for the Russian offense. Ness Fajardo. Sarah Levin gives it back. This Russian team and the U.S. team had very similar scores throughout the tournament. In fact, Russia entering the final has allowed fewer goals through the week. And there's Sasha Pustovaya. An assist and now a goal for the great Russian star.
The USA's defense was managing to contain the handlers at the back. But as I've said in their previous game and in some of the other Russian games, if you want to learn how to throw, watch how these Russian ladies do it. Dumanskaya and Pustovaya moving the disc so well around the back. It's completely slick. And unfortunately, there was that connection from Podolskaya.
Just an unfortunate error there from Levin. And one of the guys on the Russian men's team said to me before the game, Sasha Pustovaya was born with a disc in her right hand. It has just been so natural for her.
That must have been a very difficult birth.
Yes, you would think so. But we're worth it for the Russian Ultimate program. That disc lands in bounds and Howard has to play it. Great denial defense by Pichugina. Rugen saves the day. That throw kept alive by Soper. The former college champion in the United States with Ohio State forces Cardenas to make the great catch. And now Rudin. Downfield, you've got Parshakova chasing Malinowski. And she comes for the underneath. The American offense usually has not had to work this hard. The throws have been pinpoint, and they go from the back of one end zone and into the other. Fantastic sequence from the Americans, though the Russians made it tough. Malinowski punctuates it with her 24th goal of the week here in Royan.
Yeah, it's quite nice to actually see the USA having to really push themselves and go out of their comfort zone. And that's something that's the attitude that they wanted to come into this game. They know that the Russian team will make them feel very uncomfortable. For really, there's a USA team in every single final. And this crowd here, this massive crowd, wants to see a USA team being taken down, or at least worked to the bone.
Russia came so close to doing it 2 years ago. You know, the Russian Women's Ultimate program gives a lot of credit to, did that hit the foot? It was very close to hitting the foot of Domanska. The sidelines trying to stop it for the Americans. If the pull hit her foot before it landed, it would be a drop pull. This happened to Team Canada in their semifinal against the United States. Wow. Video evidence indicates this should be USA disc.
That is so unfortunate. As
USA coach Mike Whitaker pointing to the big video monitor. USA was able to capitalize very quickly when basically the same thing happened to Canada on a windy day. The Canadian handler tried to dodge the disc and it hit her ankle as it landed. Allison Maddox into the end zone for Sarah Ancio. And USA capitalizes on the unfortunate mistake from Domanskaya.
Russia are probably going to feel quite down on themselves about that. A very unusual, unfortunate accident that can happen to just about anyone. She just couldn't move her foot out of the way in time of the pull, and the USA are really going to punish them and dragging that scoreline further and further away to get a different game to what we had 2 years ago.
Good spirit from the Russians, recognizing that it did, in fact, hit the ankle before landing. You know, many members of this Russian women's team really developed their skills in large part because of clinics held in Russia by members of Seattle Sockeye, the men's team that's won several championships in the United States. After the Worlds in Prague, many members of the squad went to Moscow for 4 days of intense training, and that is where a lot of the early fundamentals and dedication to the sport was born. And that's really a lot of what these World Championships are about, the intermingling of cultures around the world. A chance to get to see different styles. Pustovaya lets it rip. Will it stay in bounds? No, it will not. Intended for Podolskaya, but just not enough outside in with the wind pushing it away from the field.
It was a great look from her, though. She had a really great power position on the sideline, trying to send that disc straight to the end zone.
Maddox has been an anchor off a turnover. Amber Sinecrope looking long. Sarah Miller has it. 3 straight scores for Team USA. 8th goal of the tournament for Miller. One of the 5 members of this USA squad that was on the team 2 years ago in the Universe Point Thriller against Russia. Miller has quadrupled her goal scoring from 2 years ago. She's a defensive player. She has punctuated more breaks this time around. The Nemesis star. And the question now, how do the Russians counter the obvious U.S. momentum, Gigi?
They probably just need to bring it back to basics. That's a tactic that the US are going to come in with, and that's something that the Russians need to stick with as well. Just trying to shut down any of the tight, aggressive defense that the US are bringing in and keeping it simple.
Goodness, I think there was a call right before the throw, and Russia will get it back, it appears.
I remember talking to the to the Russian team yesterday, and just approaching Sasha Pustovaya. I didn't realize how tall she actually was, because the screen makes them look so much smaller. But like, I'm 5'5", so I'm about average height, and her height is just towering.
She uses it well. She knows how to take advantage of that length and wingspan, both as a handler but also as an underrated receiver. Pustovaya launches. Enough float? No. Just a little bit off. Another turnover intended for Tizik. Both teams certainly came into today realizing, they held back a few tricks from their first game. That was one of the things that Mike Whitaker said. He talked about how the Russian offense was very good against a flick force. Oh, how about that? Intended for Levin, and it's Poltowskaya bulldozing through for the D. USA forcing backhand, though. They changed up the force late in the game against Russia because they didn't want the Russians to make any critical adjustments to the backhand force, so they went flick. That was one of the reasons they surmised the Russians got back into it. Violation signaled. When it looks like a player is getting ready to do the YMCA, they're just signaling the violation. Levin hits Fajardo. And believe travel was called. And quickly back into play. Fajardo to Sadler. Miller with a reset, and Lou launches. Levin off the fingertips. Missed opportunity there. A 6-2 lead was in her grasp, and she could not hang on.
You can feel the reactions from the crowd as all of these players are making every single bid. That disc just slipping out of her fingertips. She had a grasp on it. And the Russians are probably going to punish the US for that turnover. They've got the downwind.
USA 2 years ago opened up a 2-0 lead, but then Russia came back, tied it at 2, led 5-4. Russia was up 7-6, and then USA got a key break, went up 8-7. It was tied 8-8 when the cap went on. USA won 9-8. Trying to go the length of the field. Just shy of the goal line, it's Tizik. Her great speed outrunning Sadler in the sand. Back to Pustovaya. And another throwaway. Oh, it's frustrating because she's made that throw so many times. Perhaps nerves, perhaps just a bit out of sync. But the look was there.
Yeah, the wind seemed to just push that disc further out. It's slightly different, and probably the mass amount of people in the stands is causing some of the wind to swirl an extra amount.
And that throw did not go where Miller wanted it to. It's hard to throw against the mark of Dina Domanskaya. And she'll launch to the end zone. Some handler movement leads to the Russian score. Culminates the longest point so far, 6 turnovers total. Levin had a chance for the break. Russia able to hold as Pustovaya with the goal.
Pustovaya having some unfortunate turns in this point, but she's managed to get herself a goal, which is a very different position to what she's finding herself in compared to recent games.
Opportunity for Levin passed by. Russia, though, fortunate to get it back after Miller's giveaway. And Pustovaya up the line. USA leading by 2 breaks. USA looking for its 3rd turnover-free offensive hold, and it won't be here. Soper's throw intended for Rudin into the ground. The quick counter connects. Anna Pustovaya, the captain of the Russian D-line and the older sister of Sasha, quickly capitalizes. And just like that, the Russians within 1.
Sulmova made sure that disc was down just to pick it straight back up, seeing a streaking Pustovaya to the end zone and put that disc out so well. The Russians are going crazy in the stands. They know that Russia can bring this closer. It's now 5-4. They're only within 1 of the USA team, and it could bring it even closer.
That first break has to be such an incredible mental hurdle. We broke them once, we can do it again. The pull just wide of that far sideline. There's certainly some USA support in the stands. Masters players who certainly had a fun night on the town after clinching gold medals yesterday. But I think any neutral fan is pulling for USA's opponent. That'll be the case throughout the day. Malinowski bluffs the deep shot for Cardenas. Excellent defense downfield by Voronkova, preventing Cardenas from coming back under. That was Badiadjina.
I'm loving this matchup of Malinowski and Parshakova on the force. Parshakova managing to get around Malinowski's massive pivot.
Malinowski calling for it, but no angle for Rudin. And her turnover knocked down by Badiadjina. Sulemova initiates, and then the launch. Will it float enough? It'll float too far, in fact. Out of the hands of Anna Pustovaya. USA went up 5-2, but certainly had a strong inclination that this would be a game of twists and turns. You know, USA has not been a dominant team through the week. They've won their games by an average of about 12-6. But they had a 10-9 game against Denmark, 10-8 game against Australia, 12-9 against Canada. And USA has had to work, and I'm not sure they've faced a defensive effort quite like this. You called out the matchup, Parshakova. Phenomenal.
We haven't seen that much from Parshakova from the other games, but she's certainly an integral part of this D-line.
That's not going to do. Intended for Badiajingina. Soper squeezes it through. Howard hits Rudin. Up the line for Cardenas. Got it. That's the smooth offense that we're used to seeing from USA. Despite 2 turnovers on the point, the Americans hold 6-4.
The USA managed to turnover on what was really an execution error and some incredible defense from Russia. But they managed to bring it together and gain some composure after Russia was probably getting into their heads.
Khalees Cardenas, one of the 2 Seattle Riot standouts on this team, along with Soper. 4 members of Boston Brute Squad, 4 members of San Francisco Fury. Also representatives from Nemesis, Dragon Thrust, Showdown, and Scandal. And the Dragon Thrust representative becoming a member of Madison Heist this year, of course, Sarah Ancio. Low throw. Pressure keeps it alive. 45 meters from pay dirt. Again, making Sasha Pustavaya work to keep it alive. Podolskaya angled off by Ancio. Sinekrope trying to be as wide as possible on the mark of Pustovaya. Ancio's bid unsuccessful. Podolskaya into the end zone. That's Voronkova.
And that is how it's done. Voronkova knew holding onto that disc that she had to maintain it. She was holding it to her face just after she'd scored. There was loads of pressure from the US. There were a fair few layout bids. You can see there, just trying to get rid of that disc, but Russia holding onto it with dear life.
A good look at the spacing here. The Russians with a lot of space on that break side and able to get the disc into Voronkova's grasp. Her 19th goal, Elizaveta Voronkova. Six members of this Russian team were on the squad in Dubai. Voronkova, one of the key additions in 2017 here in France. This is the first of 3 gold medal games today. We'll see the USA men against Great Britain and USA mixed against Canada. An international delegation trying to stop the USA. Soper finds Fajardo. Fajardo out there for the O-point instead of Malinowski. Soper's going deep, and that's not usually her style. She was open, but not the speed or extension to get there. Malinowski on the near sideline, drinking water. She looks okay. Perhaps the USA with a lead, giving her a point off. She's been an anchor throughout the week, though. It's surprising not to see her on the field for an O-point.
I think they're just trying to switch it up a little bit. If you're maintaining the same 5 or 6 players on the pitch at any one time for the same line, it almost gets a bit too repetitive. Your opponent knows how to shut that same system down.
The last O-point, USA did turn it over multiple times. And Russia, a first throw giveaway again intended for Mashinova. Would have been a spectacular catch, but one you need to make against the Americans with gold at stake. Rudin keeps her pivot foot and keeps her balance to find Cardenas. And a stoppage. It's a fun matchup. Anna Pustovaya, Khalees Cardenas. Tremendous handler defense. Parshakova. Finally, Howard breaks through free. Howard, of course, scored the gold medal clincher 2 years ago on an inside flick from Anna Nazaroff, who was supposed to be on this team again, but made the World Games roster. One of 4 members of this original USA Beach women's team to get pulled from the squad for the World Games.
Incredible defense from Parshakova. She managed to shut down Cree Howard so well.
Until she didn't. There wasn't much space, but the USA found it.
Yeah, the stall count was rising so much. And when you've only got that one target, a stall 8 or 9, you've got to throw something. And Parshakova was inches away. She was just so unlucky to not get to that disc.
Howard, one of the great cutters in the world. That's half. USA leads 7-5. Russia will receive the second half pull. USA will switch sides, so the Russians will go downwind. They do not add any time to the finals. 45 minutes is the length. They'll cap it then. Add 1 to the game's high score. Russia wants it all. That's a tough throw to complete. The wind has shifted a bit. It's certainly slightly more upwind, downwind than it was at the start of the game. Russia going downwind on that shot. Now the USA forced to go into the teeth of the breeze. Maddox needs something, just launches. Nobody home. That's a punt as much as anything. And this Russian defense has really stifled the Americans to a point where it's surprising that they trail by 2.
Yeah, they've certainly stepped it up in the last few points, and they've stepped it up since the last time we've seen them play against each other in pool play. And that's just them reading the USA offense with absolute perfection and just being able to completely close off.
Pustovaya marked by Megan Liu. Again, trying to be as wide on the mark as possible. That clearly has been the coaching point from Mike Whitaker, who coached the women's U23 teams in Toronto and London. Lefty backhand into the end zone and a tremendous grab. That's Coach Anova. A bit of a marathon back and forth point from one end zone to the other. And it ends with Coach Anova in the sand with the disc.
A lefty backhand with a lefty grab. Such impressive throwing form. She uses her entire core to shift the disc and get it down to the other side of the pitch, just outside the end zone line. And a lot of pressure from the USA defense. That toss into the end zone wasn't just simple. When you've only got one person that you're looking for and nothing coming from behind you, you've got to make sure that you move this defense around. And thankfully, Kochanova managed to do that to her sister in the end zone.
So interestingly for the United States, Nes Fajardo stays out there on offense in the Maggie Rudin spot this time. Malinowski returns. It appears that Mike Whitaker has said we need another handler out there along with Soper. Malinowski looking for Cardenas. Incredible touch, and Cardenas bids and scores. Khalees Cardenas. Malinowski hung that disc for just barely long enough.
That almost looked like it was too much. It was difficult to see from this angle, but she had to float and waited for the disc to just sink into her hand.
Malinowski, such a great deep threat, but her throws after catching big gainers underneath have been just as impactful. An incredible effort from Cardenas, leaving it on the field. 8-6 USA. Americans are up a break, but since they received at the start, the Russians need 2 breaks to win. There have only been 3 breaks total in the game. Podolskaya hassled by Maddox. Pustovaya with Rudin out there on defense. USA continuing to force backhand. That was one of the biggest takeaways from scouting the Russians, is that they can just dominate when they're forced flick. They certainly have pretty good backhands too, but that is what the USA has chosen to give.
Yeah, it's a backhand force, but when you're up against some of the bigger handlers like Dimonskaya and Pustovaya, they're coming quite flat. The flat mark stopping any of the bigger shots.
Pustovaya, a pick call downfield. I was still marveling at the fake in the reach of her wingspan. The stands have filled up very nicely. Championship Saturday, and an unfortunate drop from Dimonskaya, slipping just through her grasp. USA going upwind. Maddox to Ancio. And Ancio rejected by Dimonskaya. She should wave a finger like Dikembe Mutombo after that block. And again, the type of mistake that keeps giving USA gold. Rudin rips it. Ancio inbounds for the score. Russia has had some moments, but the USA much more consistently spectacular, and a great upwind strike. Ancio makes it 9-6, closing in on the cap just 5 minutes away.
What a point for both of these sides. Dimonskaya, her foot has both been incredible for her in this game and very bad for her. Her causing a turnover with the very same foot, and now giving a block.
Dimonskaya, very impressive in certain sequences, but some critical errors as well. A USA D-line that will commence with a Mag and Lou backhand. Sadler, Levin, Miller, and Sinacrope racing down for the United States. Tuvia in her own end zone. Contested stall is the call.
It's a very quick stall out if it was at all.
It's a great grab. Tizik floats it forward. Tuvia, the tallest on the field. That's easily picked off. Not sure what Tuvia saw there. Right to the chest of Lou, like she was the receiver. USA already up multiple breaks, looking to make things very challenging for Team Russia with another downwind strike here. Miller juggles but hangs on. Timeout called. A 9-6 lead and possession for the United States. And as you can tell, the clock doesn't stop during the timeout call, so we creep toward the 45-minute cap.
Yeah, it's probably a very good call to have a timeout at this stage. The USA probably gained some momentum after a few breaks. They managed to get the turnover on the Russians, and they're getting closer to their end zone. They want to be able to stay calm and use the simplistics.
As long as it takes. Stressing patience. It certainly would be foolish to count the Russians out. They are amazingly talented. They've turned it over 14 times in the game compared to 11 from the United States. Becky Malinowski, who had 3 goals and 2 assists, involved in 5 of the 9 scores in the final 2 years ago. Not nearly as impactful today. She's got 1 goal and 1 assist in the game. 2 assists for Becky, and well, didn't take long for the United States. Levin lays out for the goal. And the lead swells to 4, and you can start to see the body language contrasting as one sideline celebrates and the other heads to the line at the opposite end.
Yeah, the Russian heads are down. They're feeling quite low in energy after the USA are just riding on this momentum from the last 3 breaks. The USA getting the score in quite easily, just 2 simple passes.
We've crossed over the 45-minute threshold, but the goal came before it, so the cap will go on after this point. It'll either be 10-7 game to 11 or 11-6 game to 12. Those are the situations. USA 12-0 in the tournament, 7-0 in Pool A. Wins over Austria, the UAE, Estonia, Denmark, Australia, Canada, and Spain. And then victories over Great Britain and Russia in the power pool. Handed a goose egg to Austria in the quarterfinals, 13-0. 11-5 over Switzerland in the semis. Shaky in the first half at times, but they got it together. And the quarters, I should say. They beat Austria in pre-quarters. This disc floating and read well. So it's 10-7, game to 11. Yulia Akhramova, known as one of the speediest members of the Russian squad, with her first goal. And now the climb really begins as Russia searches for 4 consecutive breaks.
Yeah, there are some smiles from this Russian side now. They know that they very well earned that goal. But they've still got a long way to go if they want to contest this US win. And it's not impossible. We've seen some massive upsets, not necessarily in the women's division, but in the mixed division we've seen massive upsets against the US before. And it could happen again today. We could see this team climb further and further, and hopefully they can use the momentum and the spirit given from their supporters in the crowd to push them through.
Fajardo continues to stay out there on offense in Rudin's spot with Soper, Howard, Malinowski, and it's incomplete. Cardenas is well on the field, but the shot deep, defended by Parshakova. The door remains slightly ajar for Team Russia.
It's that same matchup of Parshakova, Malinowski. Has proved to be lethal before.
One upwind goal here would make things very interesting, and Podolskaya shaken up. Kochanova, her maiden name. Anna Pustovaya, marked by Cardenas. Floats it long, and that'll work. Howard bid, but kept alive. And Sulamova dishes the break for Podolskaya. The Russians aren't done yet.
They certainly are not done. The fans are going crazy in the stands, those feet stamping, those cheers, those Russian flags flying. And Podolskaya is just adding to her stats even more. We got that incredible D from Kochanova that we've seen again. She's lethal against Malinowski. The height difference you cannot really fathom, but Parshakova is just incredible on defense here.
Howard forcing that one long, didn't throw it exactly how she wanted. She nearly got the D there, but as multiple bodies tumbled, it was Sulamova that emerged. And then Podolskaya. Now Russia. They're on defense, but they're pulling downwind. We've seen the USA go upwind. Russia just registered its second break of the game. Rudin back out there on offense. Cardenas. Parshakova chasing Malinowski again, denying the disc. Soper keeps it alive. You only get one timeout, no more timeouts remaining for the U.S. It's a game to 11. Gold at stake, and that disc looks a little warped. Do we have another fluorescent game disc? Yes, it's coming from the near side of the field. The equipment timeout for some new plastic. And Soper with a new 175-gram Ultra Star in her grasp. Will it be the gold medal disc? Off the fingertips of Howard. The Americans perhaps tightening up just a bit. Tuvia wants it all. The backhand to the end zone. Russia's within one. Unbelievable shot for Voronkova. Maggie Rudin shaken up.
You can sense the electricity in the air from this crowd.
See what happened here. Voronkova, oh goodness, Rudin with a bit of whiplash on the landing.
But Voronkova making sure that her opponent is okay. And she's standing up now.
The United States has 0 of its typical O-line players out there for this offensive point, saving Howard, Cardenas, Soper, Malinowski, Rudin, and Fajardo for a potential universe situation. Russia was down 10-6. It's a game to 11. Can the Russians ascend to the summit? Claudia Tajima has played sparingly in the final. Out there handling with a chance to clinch gold. Looking for her club teammate Amber Sinekrope, finds her. Sinekrope up the line. That is defended. Voronkova made sure Levin didn't have a chance to toe the line.
That would have been a very difficult grab regardless of the bid. But you can sense how intense this game is now. It's getting closer and closer. Russia just knocking on the door of a universe point game.
Well, we wanted some gold medal drama. And in the women's final on the beach in Royan, the intensity reaching its peak. Russia has scored the last 3. Closing in on 10-all. It will all come down to the next one as Parshakova scores the equalizer. A massive turn of events here on the beach in France.
This is absolute insanity. You look around right now, we're in the commentator booth, you look around, the entire scene is full of people, every single person going crazy.
The U.S. faces with a look of shock. Rudin won't retake the field. It'll be Fajardo with Malinowski, Cardenas, Soper, and Howard. On the defensive point for the Russians with the gold on the line. The Tuvia sisters both out there with Podolskaya. Here we go. Next point wins. Dumanska and Kochanova, the other 2 Russian players. And the Americans have turned it. Russia trying to complete a miraculous comeback. They were down 10-6. They have never led. Howard, and it's caught! Unbelievable! Gold medal Russia in a surreal finish in Royan. There was a similar deflection on the very first point of the game where the USA got the disc after the Russians deflected it. And Olga Podolskaya off the deflection from Howard. It will not be an American gold medal sweep. Team Russia takes gold in the women's division with a 5-0 run to close out an unforgettable final.
This game has been absolute insanity. I've not been able to stay in my seat and everyone here has been going crazy. But Russia have deserved that gold. They have worked for every second. They were a little bit shaky at the start. They were 10-6 down and they've managed to get 5 goals in a row, 4 breaks in a row to get them this win. And they absolutely deserved it. They lost out in Dubai 2 years ago in a very painful final for probably every single member of that squad. And they've got it this year. The 2017 women's gold medalists.
A heartbreaking silver for USA, but it's hard not to feel fired up for this Russian group. 6 members of this team knew exactly how the USA is feeling now 2 years ago. It began with back-to-back bids for Maggie Rudin. She scored the first 2 goals for USA. And with the score even at 2, the Americans went on a 3-0 run. Plays like that from Paige Diddy Soper. Olga Podolskaya. A performance that will put her on the international map. Cardenas, that was the goal for the USA that made it 8-6. They stretched the lead to 10-6, and then the Russian rally began. Defense from Elizaveta Voronkova. Anna Pustovaya tossing the tying score, and then after the turn, Sasha Pustovaya to Olga Podolska. It was deflected and caught regardless, and the Russian celebration begins. Gigi Morrison, your final thoughts on a championship match that will live forever for so many different reasons. What are you thinking right now? Put this one in context for me. Russia 11, USA 10.
I'm finding it difficult to find words. I'm absolutely honored to have been able to witness that match. It's not a game of 2 halves. It wasn't a game of trades. Russia are definitely the underdogs, but they are still so dominant. They lost out to the US in the pool play in what was a game that wasn't too close, but still very hotly contested. And we thought, both of us probably thought that it was going to be the US taking this, where it was 10-6. But that's where Russia just couldn't give up, and they didn't.
Final score, Russia 11, USA 10. An explosive start to Championship Saturday here at WCBU 2017. It has been an absolute privilege to be here for this one, and we've got 2 more finals ahead. But for now, on behalf of our entire crew that has worked so tirelessly throughout the week, for Gigi Morrison, Evan Lepler, bidding you adieu. Russia 11, USA 10. The upset sends USA to the silver, and it's a gold medal Saturday here in France for Team Russia.